Welcome to our special 20 by 20 series. Now, as part of TV3's 20 years anniversary, we're speaking to 20 most eminent Ghanaians. And my guest for today is a Reverend Minister, is a professor, and a major player in Ghana's elections. He is a peace broker. And of course, over the last elections, he's played a major role whenever it's got, to conflicts in the elections. My guest is Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
I hope you're doing very well.
By the grace of God, I'm doing fine. Yes.
So TV3 is 20 years. We're 20 years on the 1st of October. Were you around when TV3 started?
Definitely. I was around when TV3 started with your Malaysian counterparts and came in with a bang to provide choice to the monopoly of the GBC. Of course, Metro had started, but at that time it wasn't something that was accessible to the public. But then TV3 came in. So we rejoice that
Great.
TV3 came.
So what are your thoughts about TV3?
Well, so far, TV3 has done very, very well within the 20 years of your existence. You've come very far. Your programs, current affairs programs, and a number of programs that you have so far produced, it's quite educative. It's enhanced the media landscape of our country. And so I will want to congratulate TV3 for the good job that you have done and what you continue to do.
Talking about the media, what's your assessment of the media over the last 20, 25 years?
Well, before the private media came into the scene, and I'm talking about the electronic media, because we already had, in terms of the newspapers, we had private newspapers in place. But the electronic media, before the liberalization of the electronic media, we were, as it were, the GBC had a monopoly, and you had no choice at that time. If you wanted to watch something, then you definitely would have to watch GBC. With the liberalization of the electronic media, we have access to different TV stations that you can sit in your chair and keep flipping, because I don't like this program, I want to watch this program and all that. For those of us who have traveled outside, lived outside, and know that people had these choices, what has happened the last 20 years is something that we need to be happy about.
Great, but has the media lived up to expectation?
Every good thing will have its downside. People have found their voices. The various electronic media, TV stations and FM stations are carrying the voices of people. People are able to express themselves on issues, national issues and all that. But it also comes with sometimes when people are not able to separate opinions from facts, and sometimes reportage borders on maligning people and all that. Then
so let's look at where the media hasn't done well.
Well, I believe that the media has done well. If I'm a teacher, and if I'm to grade the media, I'm not going to fail the media.
Okay.
But I'm not going to say that you have chalked A plus or A.
What have we chalked?
As far as I'm concerned, I will give you maybe B plus, A minus.
Okay.
That is good. It means that, we are getting there. One of the things that I'm not happy about is when issues come about, you will invite politicians, people representing different political parties to come and speak to it.
Okay.
And there is a banter. People are fighting and we are not educated. I think it is important for us to bring experts, people who truly understand the issues at stake, to come and give us critical analysis of these issues so that we can learn something out of that. That part, I don't think we're doing very well.
And that's the part you would want the media to improve.
The media to improve. But I would also wish that journalists are also given opportunity to specialize in certain areas, so that if somebody is talking about the economy, the person really knows what they are talking about, and they can ask the appropriate questions and push people to come up with the kinds of things that the public needs to be educated on.
Great. So, Reverend Asante, let's get into your life now. Of course, we know a few things about you, but tell us, growing up, what are some of the fond memories that you have?
Well, let me tell you that I grew up at a time when Ghana had its independence. I was 7 years old at the time when Ghana became independent. So I didn't see much, but I saw quite a little bit of that. I saw Nkrumah's time when we had won our independence, and the nation was really thriving. I mean, Nkrumah was there until 1966 when he was overthrown. And things were really moving, as far as I'm concerned. There were factories in different places. People had jobs at that time. I wouldn't know much about the economy of the time because I was still young to understand the nitty-gritties of the economy. But for me, those were memories. I mean, we were enjoying Ghana, freedom. We were enjoying free education at the primary levels, and new schools were being built all over the place, and it was a joy to say that you were a Ghanaian. I was a member of the Young Pioneer movement at the time, and I belonged to. We were taught African personality, belonged to the cultural group. And it was just sheer joy, at that time.
How about the music at that time?
My genre of music is high life. Kwabena, E.T. Mensah and the Temple Band, Jerry Hansen and Ramblers, Uhuru. These were the kinds of music at that time. And Kofi and Johnson and others came in later. And my uncle belonged to the police band, even though he was on the classical side. We lived with also members of the police band at the police depot here, and so I had access to, some of the Kofi and Johnson, for instance, used to come to our house, and we enjoyed his music.
Talking about these high life musicians and bands, which of their songs really caught your attention at the time that you've still not forgotten, and once in a while when you remember those days you would want to sing?
Robert Ifishie, Jaimoni Panguino, Robert Ifishie, in the Huwechro, Sana Udede Pia, Bebrebeya, Eri, people shop at the Roma, Nazi, Wajnam. This was Ramblers,
Oh, okay, yes, I've heard that. I mean, I've heard that song.
You have, the guitar bands coming now, and Ghana, those were the,
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're speaking to Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante, who's chairman of the National Peace Council, and you heard him singing, some of the great high life tunes of his time.
Yes.
Erabati Fisher. I like that one, Erabati Fisher.
Yes. Ghana House, you had a shop on the corner. They call it People's Shop. And this was where people would go and buy all sorts of things. And it says people shop at Aroma. It means that it was when people had started using, artificial stuff, wigs, and those sort of things. And they sang about that,
I now get a better understanding of the song. But, talking about those days, let's look at, since you were born even before we gained independence, let's look at your assessment of our 60-year journey.
Well, for those of us, when Nkrumah was overthrown, I had completed elementary school.
Okay.
Nkrumah was overthrown in 1966. And before 1966, you really felt that we thought that Nkrumah was an angel. Okay, so, and then all of a sudden, the myth is broken and people jubilated. Nkrumah statues were being destroyed. Dunkirk in Kumasi, Accra here, and all that.
But looking at the sort of expectations, I mean,
Yeah.
at the time we gained independence and growing up through the Nkrumah regime, the sort of expectations we had of our country, if you were to assess us looking back 60 years and how we've come up until now, what would be your verdict on Ghana's development?
You see, we raise a question. It was the question that set us to our leaders to go for independence, freedom, development, self-government. These were some of the key issues, values that we wanted to be able to govern ourselves, and we believe that in doing so, there will be development, the nation will move forward. I don't know why we stopped, interrogating those kinds of things. At some point, we stopped the question. We had the independence and we thought we had arrived. And unfortunately, what happened was that you only threw away whites and you brought into their place black people who behaved like the white people. The mentality didn't change. So you had a situation where somebody was given positions, and in a can they would say, "Amanu Bruni Dibre," the position of a white man. And people who were in Bruni Dibre also want to behave like Bruni Dibre, as if they were also white people, and the very people they were there to serve, we didn't have that kind of attitude. Nkrumah, as a leader, did a lot, but there were people who also followed Nkrumah, who were in there for what they would take and all that, And we have had that kind of situation in this country. In most cases, we will mention leaders. A leader may be good, but if the leader doesn't have the right sort of people to work with, then it becomes a problem.
So for you, we've not lived up to expectation.
I don't think so. I don't think that the dreams and the kinds of things. What is happening? I mean, the factories that were started, where are they now? You had the Kade match factory. I visited Kade recently. What is happening over there? Abosu grass factory, and we used to learn this in school. I mean, it was part of the geography thing that you learn. Corned beef, the Polugu tomato things. We had all these things that were in place in our country, and we thought we were going forward. We were manufacturing. We were industrializing fast. Tema had been built. Vaco was in there. What is happening today? All these things have come to an end. The fact that we are now talking about one district, one factory tells you that we were not able to keep pace with the very thing that we started. Rather, we went back. Now we are under constitutional dispensation. There's the liberalization of the airwaves. And sometimes when I hear people talking, the kinds of things that they can go on air and talk, when we were growing up, you dare not. You couldn't do that. When Nkrumah was in power, 1 o'clock, everybody would be tuned to their radio.
Okay.
1 o'clock. That was where ministers would be dismissed and all sorts of things could happen. Now we are talking about the rule of law. We're talking about constitution. So in a sense, we're not doing that bad.
Okay.
With the Fourth Republic. We still have not arrived. I mean, we shouldn't think that we have, because we have not arrived yet.
When you say we've not arrived, what do you mean?
We have not arrived yet in the sense that we still have impunity in the system. I mean, when vigilantism continues to be there, where people show people where power lies, where people are not going by the rules of the law and order sometimes breaks down, and people think that they are above everything. We have not yet arrived, but it is better. We are getting there, and we will get there.
What do we need to do to get there?
Well, we need, if we say that we are dealing with constitutional rule, let the constitution work.
You don't
Law
think
and
it's working?
order. Oh, I mean, we are ruling by constitution, but I want to say that, you know, we're talking about the rule of law. Impunity is still in the system. I mean, for what reason would somebody be able to get up and say that somebody is not in my party, and therefore I take liberty to throw that person away from office? We have seen that in this country, where people in certain positions have been thrown out, not by the government authorities, but grassroots supporters have done that. That is impunity. And I think that's what I'm saying, that we need to go beyond that. And then look at the indiscipline that we find, even on our roads. People go over red lights, you know, in this country. You and I have lived outside, and we know that even where cars are not coming, you are the only car that is there. Once it is red light, I keep saying to myself, why is it that when we are outside, we keep these rules, but as soon as we get into our country, it becomes something else?
Tell me, why do you think we do that?
I don't know. I mean, until now, you know, we have had situations where people defecate anywhere, because, I mean, people build houses and they turn what is supposed to be toilets into rooms, and they hire it out, and people are defecating in public. People are urinating everywhere. So we have a long way to go. We're not concerned about the environment, and so primary diseases that could be out of the way are still with us, you know.
Okay.
Because of lack of hygiene, we throw, you know, dust into places that we and even situations where the council says we have put this in there, put things in there. You know, people are dumping refuse in there, and it's spilling over. Nobody is going to pick them out. Galamsey, look at what we have done to ourselves, destroying the environment, destroying people's farms. I was talking to a prominent citizen in this country, and he said, Osofo, we used to say, Achinkwa onum bremu, an Achim man who drinks from Bremu river. Now we have Achinkwa onum pure water. Why? Why do we have to destroy what God has given us simply because we want to make money? And the trouble is that even this gold that we are prospecting and we are taking, we are giving it to foreigners. Somebody made joked with this and said that, you know, somebody, when God was creating the world and was endowing Africa with all sorts of, you know, things, minerals and all that, the white people and others said, but why are you endowing them with all these things? And he says, God said to them, don't worry, they will bring everything to you. Is it true or not that
evidence on the ground
we keep talking about the Chinese people who have come to do this? Now, who brought them here? When they were there in China, did they know Mansuakwe? A Ghanaian will go for a license and he will not do anything with it, and he will sell it. Destroy his own grandfathers and mothers' farms and people and whatever we have, the river bodies. So there's too much indiscipline in the system. And you know what? I was very happy when the president said that I'm not going to think about 2020. I was elected to rule this country from 2016 to 2020. And I'm going to rule this country from 2016 to 2020. And I'll say to all the politicians, the government in power, your mandate is 2016 to 2020. Let 2020 think about itself, and let us ensure that within this period, whatever is good for this country, we do that. And let the minorities and the opposition also understand that they also have a role to play. And the role is not simply to pull down, but the role is to ginger the government to do right things so that we will all, you know, enjoy from the good things that will flow out of it.
Okay, so that's still 20 by 20 where we're speaking to, you know, 20 most eminent Ghanaians, and today our guest is Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante, Chairman of the National Peace Council. Let's move away from that and let's get into what you do as a Minister of Peace. How's the experience like?
Well, let me tell you this.
Tell me.
The Bible says that blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. And for that matter, the fact that as a minister of religion, of gospel, I have been assigned responsibility to facilitate peace in our country. I'm truly grateful because I think that I'm doing the work of God. And I'll be called the Son of God. And I love it that way. But it is not easy. It is not easy.
Tell me more about that.
Misunderstanding, misrepresentation. Okay? If you are doing the work that I and my colleagues have been assigned to do, that's the eminent members of the National Peace Council and regional peace councils, ours is not to play partisan politics. Even if you have love for a particular political party, you are not in there to promote the interest of a political party, but to promote the interest of Ghana. And so there may be occasions where you have to speak against certain things that your own political party might even be, the political party that you are sympathetic with might be doing. But how does the Ghanaian see it? If it is against my party, then he belongs to this party. If it is against this side, then he belongs here. I have been insulted. People have said all sorts of things. They have given me money, and it's incredible. And yet what people do not know is that the chairman of the National Peace Council is not paid. It's not a paid job. Okay? And all the members of the National Peace Councils are not paid. We're supposed to be given allowance. But I tell you that I cannot live on the basis of that allowance. The petrol that I will even put into my own car, and the car that I'm riding in is my car, given to me by my church, the Methodist Church, Ghana.
Okay.
I'm not using any government vehicle for anything. I work with my hands. I'm a minister of the gospel. I teach, I lecture, I write books to make a living. Okay? Yet, you hear people, somebody who doesn't know you from Adam, and young ones, he has not met you, saying all sorts of things about you. Why? For the simple reason that you have opened your mouth to say, somebody is doing this, let that person stop it, because it's not going to be of any interest to the nation.
Do you get worried when you hear these comments?
I don't get worried, because blessed are you when men shall revile and say all sorts of things against you. They did that to the Lord. I'm not worried. But I'm raising this issue because I think it's an opportunity for people to understand. I have said it before, that if you do not know that the Lord has called you in this country, you might not even give yourself up to do it. There are some good people out there who do not want to get themselves involved in anything, simply because of the kinds of things people will say. We will not investigate matters. We will not interrogate matters. We open out our mouth and we just talk. Somebody who doesn't even know the mandate, he has not even read the act, is telling you what to do. And yet, what do? The joy for us is the joy that we are serving our country. And if the Lord should call me today, I'll be grateful to the Lord that you gave me opportunity to make my little contribution towards the peace of Ghana.
All right, so Prof, as we move into our next years, as we move ahead into the next 20 years, what are your wishes for TV3?
My wishes for TV3 is for TV3 to have professionals who have specialized in specific areas. At TV3, that will become like, if it's not going to the world, at least in Africa, will be a media house like the CNN, a media house that has correspondents all over the place that can bring us fresh news as it happens. News as it happens. A media house that has experts that can really sit down and do proper analysis of situations to educate Ghanaians. A media house that we can rely upon and to be able to say that, where did it come from? If it came from TV3, then it must be true.
Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We're very grateful.
Thank you.
All right, so that's all from us today on a special 20 by 20 series where we're speaking to 20 most eminent Ghanaians. And today you heard from Chairman of the National Peace Council, Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Winston Amon.